Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stream tonight. RaceOnOz PS4 Tier 1 from the Hungaroring. You just have myself tonight, Jamie. Unfortunately, JJ can't make it tonight, but we will be without a lot of the fancy production that we like to see, so it'll just be my voice and what I can bring to you directly through the PlayStation, so do bear with me, and I'll try and keep up with as much of the action as I can. If anyone can give me a bit of a message in the chat if you're finding the sound coming through all right, that would be much appreciated. So we've just kicked off qualifying here and following Cameron Footner around. He's normally one to watch, setting those blistering qualifying laps early on. He's very much a factor in the championship. In fact, he's leading it at the moment by a margin of 3 points from Andrelli. Burrow Dog a further 2 points back, so still a lot to play for in the penultimate round of the season so far. So good temperatures, good conditions at the moment. At the Hungaroring, we're looking at track temp of 29, ambient of 24, so the guys will be looking to bring their tyres up to speed. A bit of a shorter track, so might take a couple of laps to do so. This first flying lap might not be the optimum, so definitely could be worth just easing them in a little bit. Though we know the way that Footner drives, there's not much easing into it about it. It's all guns blazing from the go. And again, another apology that we couldn't bring you the broadcast from a fortnight ago. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues and we couldn't get it up and running for you. So I don't have a lot of visibility in terms of what happened in that race. I know Rain of Fire, I believe, did take the victory in that one. So congratulations to him. He's also featuring tonight on the grid. We've got 19 drivers in the server at the moment, so a really good turnout as we'd expect for the top division in the PS4 league. Continuing to follow Footner around, though we did see him get a little bit out of shape there coming into the chicane, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a little while. And again, he's gone a bit wide there, so as I said, they'll be coming around. This is their first flying lap, but those tyres will probably take another lap or so to really get into the optimum range. You can see Footner taking a bit of a wide line there out of the last corner, which will set himself up nicely to carry maximum speed down the straight. GT King's the first time on the board and a few others coming in thereafter, so GT King with 143.9. I'd expect to see the times come down further as we go along. I think in the PS5 division last week we saw times in the low to mid 42s, so those were some of the quicker times there. I'd expect to see similar times here this evening. Thanks, Riggsy, for the sound confirm. Appreciate it, mate. I'm sure a good GRT representation here this evening. Be looking to put on a good show. If we have a look at one of those drivers, that's Andrelli coming into the chicane. Lots of traffic through there, a couple of P&L drivers. So with that short track, means the traffic does become a bit of a factor in qualifying. A bit more difficult to find that gap where you can lay down a couple of clean laps without coming up against drivers who might be on slower laps themselves or recovering from offs and things like that. So you really got to keep your eye on the track map, listen out for your spotter, and make some good decisions about when you take off for that qualifying lap. Andrelli coming around here, second to last corner. See, taking a nice tight entry all the way through onto the front straight. So he'll continue on for another lap. A couple of other times up there on the board, Zest 1. First look at him that I got was about a month ago in the Spa race, where he performed quite well, showed a lot of pace, a few little errors, a couple of comings together. I think with Footner, I believe, was one of those incidents. So we'll see if he is able to show some pace tonight, as well as get himself a good result and have a nice clean race. We'll just continue to follow along with Andrelli here, who's having a stellar season, must be said. He's been in the Ferrari now for a couple of seasons and is really starting to get the hang of it. It's a good car for all conditions and for all tracks. It doesn't really have a weak track, so you know if you get it right and you can hook it up on the night that you'll be in for a good result. And once you get used to it as well, and as I know, I've spent so much time in it, you do become quite used to its little tricks and little foibles, and you can learn to either drive around them or dial them out of the car, and it can become quite an easy car to drive. And I found quite a smooth driving style worked very well for this car. And Andrelli is a smooth driver, so let's see if you can get this around the last corner cleanly and put a time on the board. He improves to just under half a second off GT King's benchmark time at the moment of 43.5. Bit of a traffic jam coming out of the pits there with a few of the GRT boys. GT King just taking some, I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but maybe some sort of interesting strategy or communication going on, or they're waiting for traffic. So yes, as I mentioned, there's quite a gaggle of cars that have coming through, that have passed up through to turn 6, right to the end of the start of the lap at turn 1. So they were looking for a bit of a gap there to find themselves in. Let's have a look at Eagle. He's really at home in the Bentley as well. He's been driving the BMW M4, the new one in the PS5 tier, so he's gone back to more comfortable surroundings in the Bentley with his fellow P&L drivers, Psychogency and Ty Morgo, also preferring the Bentley. Looks like he will be coming up against his team, coming up behind his teammate. Might benefit from a little bit of a slipstream. Not the longest straights around here. The start-finish straight is the longest and probably presents the best overtaking opportunity in the race. But otherwise, the slipstream wouldn't be the biggest factor. We'll just keep following along with Eagle as he rounds the final corner. We'll see if we can improve. He's just over 6/10 away from GT King's provisional pole time. And he does improve by a bit over a tenth, so driver's starting to work down the times. GT King still holds that provisional pole at the moment from Andrelli, just over a tenth behind, and Footner 3/10, and then Adman also going well in the Ferrari, about half a second behind. It's his first season in the Ferrari, Adman, and I know he's managed to find some good pace out of it. Getting the consistency though is still coming. More laps, more time in the car. And I'm sure that we'll see some improved times and improved performances, though he has put in a couple of really good performances. And I can say that he is recovering from a bit of a foot injury at the moment, which has hampered a little bit some of his preparation and racing over the last few weeks. Hopefully he's feeling much better and that's not really affecting him tonight, as he's just backed out of a lap there to Once again, give himself some space. We'll continue seeing that right to the end of the session, I'm sure. Let's see where Footner is. So he's starting a lap. Let's maybe go on board with him. Coming into turn 1, downhill, longest braking zone of the circuit. Really about picking up the acceleration as early as possible there. There's a few lines you can take through that turn 1. So we approach this interesting off-camber turn that you kind of need to compromise the exit for, so you can get a nice run flat through here, which will take you right down to this short little straight. Turn 4 very fast, take a little bit of the curb there, very tough on track limits. This corner here is really tricky. You can always take a bit more speed than what you feel like you're carrying, but the chicane is really the critical point. Those Bentleys just eat up the curbs, but there are going to be a lot of drivers out there, particularly in the mid-engine cars, who just won't be able to take the curbs as nicely as the Bentleys. Here it's all about car placement, really aiming the car at the optimum point for the apex, giving up a little bit on exit, because a couple of those turns you really want to set yourself up nicely for the following. Bit of a short downhill straight, tricky braking zone with that downhill, and you really got to hook it into the apex early so you can catch a bit of that curb and drag you around. Second to last corner is a fiddly corner. It goes a little bit off camber on the exit, which can take you out a bit wider than what you want to set you up for the final corner. And again, you want to hit the apex early here and try and touch a little bit of the curb to drag you around, and then it's about getting on the power as early as you can. And Footner goes to the top of the timesheets with a 43.3, so good lap from him there. GT King just entering the third sector now, so let's see what he's got in response. Easy to lock a brake up into this second last corner here and just spray wide, which really ruins your lap. Looks like he's taking a bit of a wide entry to the final corner here, so he might be setting himself up for the next lap, and he is. So we'll come back to him and see what else is happening around the grounds. K-Man's popped into the pits, as has Aaron. They've both set pretty good times. They're occupying the top 5 positions at the moment. Burradog, race winner a couple of races ago. His inaugural race win. I know he's still riding high on that. Didn't quite have the race he would have liked in the wet at Suzuka. But I know that he did contest the PS5 race with us last week, and it was very, very quick in that Bentley. It was definitely on pure pace, troubling a few of us in the top 3-4 there. So let's see if he can hook it up. I think the pace is there if he can get it. Though he does have a BHR Ferrari, which would be Adman just in front of him. We saw Adman warming up for a lap as well, so we might see an improvement in time from him as well. Let's just see, crossing the line here. So Adman can't improve, neither can Burradog, so he'll set off for one more. That'll be his final one as well, because we've just entered the final minute. Interested to see where GT King is. See if he can challenge Footner. Just under 2.5 tenths. Can't quite improve there. So he was a couple of tenths off his best on that last lap. So this is his last chance here. See if he can trouble that top spot. GT King is a new driver for the ACC League here this season. It's his first season. Very experienced with the Gran Turismo leagues. Very fast driver, and he's been doing a fantastic job here on a new platform, regularly fighting in the top few positions, and even for wins has had a bit of bad luck with a couple of incidents and also some internet connection issues, which has taken him completely out of the race, but be hoping he's got that sorted out for tonight when he can get through the full 1 hour unscathed. Just quickly have a look at Ty Morgo. We'll come back to GT King shortly. Ty Morgo was a championship challenger last season, taking it to Footner all the way to the final round. Hasn't really been able to match Footner this season, which has been a shame, and I'm sure he'll be a bit disappointed with that, but nonetheless he's still very capable of putting in a very good performance on his day. It's GT King. See what he can manage here. Looks like he's comfortably got a front row, but no, he's backed out of it there. So that will be the end of the session for him. Can Ty trouble that top spot? He does improve slightly, but not enough for a position change, so that leaves him in 8th position, and that takes us to the end of qualifying. So congratulations, Footner. Pole position with a 1:43.3 there. Just over 2.5 tenths in front of GT King, who takes the other front row position, so great effort from those two drivers, and not surprising to see them occupying the top spots. Andrelli has captured the 3rd position on the grid with 3 tenths off Footner's time. Great effort in the Ferrari. He heads up a 3 Ferrari car train there with K-Man and Adman just behind him, so very close there. That top 5 separated by 6 tenths of a second. Then we've got Aaron, Eagle Wind, Ty Morgo and Fly Sky. Zest 1 rounds out the top 10. That top 10 is all within 1 second, so not surprising to see times that tight around a short track, but also because this is a really competitive division, so we'd expect that these guys to be really nipping at the heels of each other. Burradog wasn't able to better that time from a bit earlier, which he'll be disappointed in, particularly as I said, he did so well in his qualifying at the PS5 round last week, so we could see him come through the field though if he's got the race pace. Then Bounty, Stew, Psychogency, Rain of Fire, last round's winner. Sorry, I've got that wrong. It wasn't Rain of Fire the last round's winner. I believe it was the Kraken. So apologies for my mix-up on that. But Metal Steel, Cermic Squid, Brett Want, and Gazzle will round out the grid. So we've got 3 minutes until they set off on their warm-up lap. I can, while we wait for that, give you a bit of a championship rundown. I did mention a bit earlier that Footner is the current leader of the championship, which is obviously a great position to be in with a couple of rounds to go, but he's only got a 3-point lead. That 3-point lead is in front of, and I apologise, my page is really struggling to load here with all my information on it. From Andrelli, 68 points. Footner's 71 points, so the difference is 3 points there. Burradog's still very much in the hunt on 66 points. Stew on 63 and Adman on 52. So they're the top 5 in the championship at the moment. Speaking a little bit more about the Hungaroring as a circuit, not well after completing the 1 hour race last week, and after the wet round at Suzuka, the drivers I'm sure will be appreciative of being back in nice grippy optimum conditions. Not the biggest track on tyre wear, though it obviously does depend on your car and your setup and your driving style. The key areas around this track are really a couple of track limits places, so particularly turn 4 there, that fast left-hander, which the exit just before you hit that long right-hander of turn 5, it's a very uncompromising penalty system on that particular track limit, so drivers will need to be very, very cautious going around there through the race. Chicane, turns 6 and 7, can also be a track limits consideration, although mainly for the cars that can take those curbs a bit better and can ride the sausage curbs on both the entry and the exit. If you get that take that just a little bit too early, then you may cop a warning there, and those drivers with, like I say, the mid-engined cars, they'll probably struggle to take those curbs as well as a car like the Bentley, so we'll be seeing some different lines going through there. So they'll head off on their formation lap. Fortner will lead us away. So Fortner encountered a bit of an issue yesterday evening and realised his pedals had broken. So I think the spring in the brake pedal had unfortunately broken or come loose or become unusable, and that meant he had to scramble this evening for a borrowed set of pedals. So he's done a great job to put that on pole on a set of pedals that he doesn't have experience racing on, so something that is not comfortable for him. So well done to him on that, but it will be another story going a full hour race on gear that you haven't had a lot of time getting used to. So I'm sure he'll be very conscious of taking it easy, so he just minimises mistakes and just tries to get used to that new pedal feel. Leading the championship, he'll be very aware that even a little mistake could cost him here. Andrelli, 3 points behind in the championship. He's only 2 places behind him on the grid, so just seeing a couple of the comments come through on the chat. Doing my very best to multitask here. It is my first time bringing this to you from my perspective, from my gear, so I apologise if I'm not quite as refined in moving about the place, but I'll do my best to find the action for you. I've just turned the volume up a little bit of the cars. Let me know. I hope I haven't gone too far in the opposite direction. Certainly is an interesting experience hearing your voice and your voice only. So hello to JJ. It's a shame you couldn't join us tonight, but I hope you managed to catch a little bit of this and we can welcome you back to the hot seat in a fortnight's time for the final round. Drivers gridding up. That's Fortner and GT King. Down to the 70k an hour limit. Tyres starting to get cold. Drivers on the wrong side of the track picking up the marbles. It's a horrible sound when you're watching your temperatures go down and you're picking up all of that dirt on the tyres, and you know you've got to barrel down into turn 1, fending off guys and trying to take positions from others. So, but all of that is out of the way now as they're on their way. Fortner leads them down, although GT King looked like he got a really good start and is in fact ahead of Fortner, but Fortner will brake quite late and indeed takes the apex in there. That looks like a good start from K-Man as well. Looks like he's made a jump on Andrelli, who has lost a couple of positions there. GT King just defending from K-Man. All looks nice and clean further down the field. Bit of side-by-side action through turns 2 and 3. That's Fly there, battling with a couple of Bentleys. So just wait for the still side-by-side. Fly is really enjoying the battles here on lap 1. Some good action down in the mid-pack. Let's just check on the front of the field quickly, and Footner's opened up a small lead now from GT King. K-Man has maintained that third position. He won on the opening corner from Andrelli. Adman fielding pressure from Eagle Wind. Eagle does have a race under his belt as well, having participated in the PS5 round last week, so some of those drivers will be definitely battle hardened and ready to go. There's Fly Sky in the background looking to make a move on Zesta 1 there. Looks like he's made that pass move after a bit of side-by-side action throughout the opening lap. Just having a look, looks like Gaz has made up a couple of positions at the start. Psychogency may have lost a couple there. Let's check back in on this battle quickly between Ty, Fly and Zest. Fly looking very racy in the opening stages. You can see him having a bit of a look there. Definitely might have worked a bit harder on the tyres on the warm-up lap, so could be enjoying a bit more extra grip than some of those Bentley drivers. Settle down a little bit in the midfield now. Let's go back closer to the front where Adman's putting a bit of pressure on Andrelli. 3 Ferrari drivers still line astern, though K-Man is the driver who heads that little Ferrari pack at the moment and is doing well. Was put out about a second or so from Andrelli, and it's not letting GT King get too far up the road in these early stages. And indeed, GT King's not letting Footner skip away either. I know I've talked a bit about in previous rounds how it's crucial with Footner when he finds himself on pole and when he takes the lead of the race, that drivers continue to put pressure on him and not let him build out that initial couple of seconds in the opening laps, because once he does that, it takes the pressure off and he just shoots away, and it's difficult to catch him, and that's just the quality driver that he is. But like any driver, when you're under a little bit of pressure, it can be a bit more difficult to really lay down those clean, fast laps. So I'm sure GT King will be wanting to hold on as best as possible. See what else is happening here. Fly still looking racy in this little pack with Ty and Zest. So Burrow lost a couple of positions there at the start. Doesn't look like he's managed to recover from that. Wonder if there was a little bit of contact somewhere and he's sporting a bit of damage. Stu putting a bit of pressure on Metal Steel as well, so another couple of Bentley drivers, which is definitely the favoured vehicle in this tier, and indeed most of the tiers across the console divisions. I think Bounty has a ridiculous stat on the podium, so go have a bit of a gander at that. In fact, I have it here now. There are 24 Bentleys across the 3 divisions on console. The next favoured car is the Ferrari Evo with 9. So it's a huge number of Bentleys. It's Rain of Fire there just behind Stu as well. I'm not sure if I picked up a little bit of damage on the front there or whether that's his livery. It might just be his livery, so let's go back to the front of the field now where Adman is Still putting lots of pressure on Andrelli. Not quite far in front enough to be able to have a bit of a lunge there. Not enough Honda's Bear, unfortunately. Maybe that'll change next season. If any of you are following the PC League at the moment, you'll notice that Sean Madison took out the PC Championship last night with a great performance, and he's done that in the Honda as well, and has consistently put in some brilliant performances in that car. Does enjoy a bit more of a favourable BOP in the PC version these days. Unfortunately on console we don't quite have that version available to us yet, which might see a car like the Honda become a little bit more competitive, but maybe we're starting a bit of a trend there and we'll see 24 Hondas next season instead of 24 Bentleys. Just noticed that time between GT King and Footner has come down slightly. So like I said, Footner using some new or foreign pedals. He did have an issue last night where his ones did malfunction, so braking is so critical. You need to have the confidence. For me, it's the most important aspect of racing is being confident, stable in your technique, in your gear, with your car, your driving style, all of that. If it's all happening under braking, then you're setting yourself up nicely and everything can build from there. And you can see Footner's gone very wide into turn 3 there, which is easy to do because it is off camber from the center of the circuit through that corner, and you can see GT King's right on his rear there in a difficult section of circuit to pass, so you might have to be patient here. Just continue to hustle Footner a bit for a mistake, be sweating on him. Through the chicane now, the cars bobble over those sausage curbs. Slightly different lines there, you can see Footner taking a slightly later apex. Sets him up a bit easier for this following section, the 2 corners there. I was saying in qualifying how it's car placement through that section of 3 or 4 corners is just so crucial, and sometimes you've got to give up a little bit in one corner so you can place yourself in the ideal part of the racetrack for the following corner. It's coming through the last turn now and onto the start-finish straight. The gap is 5/10. Let's see if GT King can capture a bit of slipstream here. Whilst it is the longest straight on the circuit, it's still probably not a long enough straight to feel comfortable with lunges and with dives. It is a downhill braking section as well, so it does elongate the braking phase slightly, but because most of the cars almost always run in a low downforce configuration here, it can be difficult to then pick up a slipstream and have a differential in speed. Adman still putting a lot of pressure on Andrelli. There's a few battles happening throughout the field. Adman looking to be nice and smooth and consistent here. I know he's very keen for another top 5 position, and you never know, with some mistakes or some incidences for the guys in front, there is always a podium just around the corner. There's a bit of action in the background there. I'm not quite sure who that was. I think it might have been Zest coming off. No, it was a little bit before that might have been Aaron running a bit wide, so he's now picked up some pressure from Ty Morgo, who's managed to shake off the attention of Fly for a little while there. There's been some further changes in that little pack as well, so Burrow has climbed up to 10th, Zest 1 must have had an issue and has moved down to 12th, and is now just in front of his SAR teammate Stu, and Rain of Fire following closely behind that. So after a few laps now, Andrelli has started to close back in on K-Man, bring Adman along with him. Very close between these three drivers. Was that a car off? I think that was K-Man. I think K-Man's off. Not quite sure what's happening here, where he is. There he is. Oh, that's a big unfortunate error when he was in such an excellent position for the podium, and then look, the tyres. He's going to struggle to and he's having to get off the gas a little bit and just allow a couple of the drivers to go through because he is a bit out of sorts at the moment. So and then we've got action happening here with cars off. That looks like Zest 1. So Zest 1 has come off there in a bit of an incident. Is that another Rain of Fire there? I think that's where he was roughly, just following closely behind Stu. So something's happened there. Burrow's moved up to 9th now, so a bit of chaos there happening around the field. So let's just take it back to the front for a moment and have a look and see if GT King's managed to... Looks like he's dropped off maybe by a couple of tenths from foot now. Very much still in the hunt. K-Man's bowed to the pits. Metal Steel is in the pits as well, so I wonder if he was caught up in that little melee that we did see there. Zest 1 was involved, and a few guys trying to avoid the stranded K-Man, who is carrying quite a lot of damage, so he must have hit the wall on that adventure out of turn 4. So Andrelli's been promoted into a podium position, and I was just saying, if you're Adman, who I know will be very, very keen for a podium this season, and I said that if you can sweat on other guys' mistakes, they can and will happen. You can take full advantage of that, and he's not only keeping up a ripping pace with the pressure on Andrelli, who's fighting for the championship, but he's putting himself in a great position here. Ty Morgo putting a bit of pressure on Aaron as well, who is in a P&L Bentley sandwich. Eagle Wind currently in 5th. Wonder if there's a little bit of team play involved. Eagle backing up Aaron slightly to bring Ty into play. Like I said, if everyone's running a higher downforce configuration, it can be a bit difficult to really get out from underneath another car and create a bit of an overlap into turn 1. So maybe a bit of teamwork could help leapfrog Ty there, and have we got a bit of a change of position. Rain of Fire and Zest 1 coming into turn 2. Zest 1 looks like he's recovering slightly after dropping down the field there in an incident that we didn't quite catch, unfortunately. Coming back to this P&L SAR battle. Time Auger was such a factor in the championship. Oh, as Aaron's popped out for a look at Eagle. Decides against it, but it's just showing him he's there. Yeah, so I was just saying Time Auger had a really, really competitive championship in Season 6. Took it to Footnar. Was in the hunt right up until the final round. Wasn't quite able to get the points he needed. Footnar did what he needed to do to take the championship. They were equal on points, but it was a count back to Footnar on race victories. But yeah, it just hasn't quite come together for Ty this season. I know he hasn't been able to qualify probably as highly as he would like, or that we know he's capable of. In such a competitive field, when you find yourself in the midfield, it's not easy to overtake. And he finds himself in that position right now. So let's have a quick look here at the Andrelli-Adman battle. Adman's really, really close now. Andrelli's not buckling under the pressure yet, which has been definitely been a hallmark for him this season. He has been supremely solid in every race that he's driven. I've followed him a couple of times in some of the PS5 division races. Adman goes quite wide there. He won't take the opportunity to make that pass because he probably would have gained a bit of an advantage. But Andrelli, not distracted, is keeping it on the racing line, keeping it smooth, picking up that throttle nice and gently. You might be thinking about conserving those rear tyres as well, giving him something to fight with a bit later in the stint. The only times Andrelli has really kind of had some issues is when he's had some problems pressing incorrect buttons on his steering wheel and activating the pit limiter, which is very, very unfortunate. And I know that it's very easy to do, hit the wrong button at the wrong time in the race. I've certainly done it. Thankfully not the pit limiter, but definitely been a couple of times where I've, as you see, Adman just getting out a bit wide there on the AstroTurf, and that really upset the rear of the car. Did well to hang on to it and hasn't lost much time at all. But yeah, I've definitely changed a few settings in the car accidentally, bumping the wrong button or switch. Traction control being one that comes to mind. Putting the foot down, coming out of a hairpin bend and twirling around like a ballerina. So easy to do. Time Auger still looking to get by Aaron, who is still putting a lot of pressure himself on Eagle. Eagle's not really pulling away. He had a great race in the PS5 League last week. I think he finished 5th, just a place behind myself. So we've got a bit of movement up the front as well with GT King putting a bit of pressure now on Footnar, under half a second. So this is what I was talking about earlier, not wanting to let Footnar get away, keeping that pressure on, and that just gives Footnar one extra job to do. He's not only trying to drive that Bentley as quick as he can, he's trying to get used and understand his new pedal situation, and now he's got to pay attention to his rear view mirror. Let's just see here, GT King having a bit of a look, bit of an earlier apex into that. A few different lines you can turn, or you can use into turn 5 there, coming through the chicane. I'm very jealous seeing those Bentleys take those curves so well after an hour of this circuit in the Honda last week. So that first 20 minutes has gone pretty quickly. And we have a race for the lead. As well as plenty of major positions go forward. And Adman has got past Andrelli, so did just miss that with the action happening almost everywhere at the moment. Aaron, Ty and Burr are all very much there as well, so Adman has managed to get past Andrelli and now runs in third position. Let's see if he was holding some pace back here, because it looked like he was following Andrelli quite comfortably. He's already kind of opened up a little bit of a gap of about 6 or so tenths. Showing some real pace, Adman. Let's have a quick look here at Footner and GT King again. Let's have a look at GT King working the wheel behind Footner. Such a quick corner, you've got to take a bit. You can see Footner there just didn't want a bar of that apex on the inside, which sent him wide. He does like a bit of a wide entry into this corner, which can upset you a bit slightly because of the change in camber at the lip of the corner. Look at that. Look at how much he can ride the curbs in that Bentley. Didn't quite trouble the apex into that right-hander there, but it's really getting on the power. You can see you can lose so much time through that little sequence of 4 corners by just, you need to carry the speed, and if you can't quite hook it into the apex, then you can say goodbye to a couple of tenths, and that's allowed Footner a little bit of breathing space. Such a long corner, that final turn, and you want to get on the power as early as possible. So 44.5 Footner and 44.7 for GT King, which would make sense after we saw GT King's little error coming through into sector 2 there. Adman. So Andrelli's managed to continue to hold on to Adman, so this looks like it could be a race that is going to go to the finish between 2 evenly matched drivers, which I'm thrilled about. That means we'll be able to get plenty of action right the way through. What do we got here? So we've got Aaron who's come into the pits to look at getting himself out of that P&L wedge, which is probably a smart move. So that's at about 24 minutes into the race. Interesting strategy. He's going to have that fresh tyre advantage, so there's a good chance of an undercut. But the consequence of that will be the tyres towards the end will not be too favourable. However, for some cars, tyre wear isn't quite the issue as it is on some other tracks. So it could be a good move from Aaron, all things considered. Gazza is in the pits as well. Looks like he's sporting a bit of damage there, so I did notice that P had been on there for a while. Back to the lead. Beginning yet another lap. There's some lap traffic coming up as well. I believe that is... I'm not quite sure who that is that they'll be coming up to lap. Could be Burradog. Maybe not Burradog. Andrelli's come into the pits as well. So the strategy call's coming into play now. He senses an opportunity with their pace being so close, him and Adman, that an undercut or an overcut strategy is definitely worth thinking about. Andrelli's taken the undercut. He'll be looking to put in some quick times, see if he can use that to vault Adman and put himself back into the podium positions. It's like Sir McSquid looking to hop out of the way of Andrelli. So I wonder if GT King will be thinking along the similar lines here about maybe ducking in the pits one more lap or 2 more laps. Footner will be trying to preempt that. It's interesting because we're not quite sure if GT King has more pace than this. So for Footner, he might be thinking that if GT King has that pace, if Footner dives in early, then that might give GT King the advantage he needs to lay down a couple of laps. There's a bit of lap traffic there. I think that might be Bounty. He does well to get out of the way there. Nice work from Bounty. GT King's doing a really good job. He's very close. Footner just struggled to carry speed through turn 5 there. And GT King just has so much more confidence over the curbs. As I've pointed out, very different lines you could see there in that vision. Footner likes to have a later turn in and kind of square off the entry, whereas GT King turns in nice and early. Pros and cons to both, but it's really giving us a great show here. So Adman didn't take the opportunity to pit immediately. And it looks like we've got our first penalty of the evening, so that's a drive through for Brett Want. So that will be track limits. And GT King has pulled the strategic card and is coming into the pit, so now we're going to see it unfold. What can Footner do? New set of pedals, or a foreign set of pedals that he's not used to. A flying GT King, putting him under pressure both on the track and with strategy. He's got a lot to think about. Ty Morgo into the pits. This will give us an opportunity to see how this worked out strategic wise for Aaron. He pitted a couple of laps ago, looking to get out of that train of Bentleys. Eagle Wind in front and Ty Morgo behind. If he's had some consistent laps, though, it looks like he has come out in a field of cars. I'm not sure if he's managed to pick up clean air, so we'll just see if we can keep an eye on this quickly. GT King's underway. Ty Morgo in the pits. Aaron's coming around the final corner now. Over the start-finish straight, Ty Morgo's away, so this could actually be quite close. Ty Morgo out of the pits, Aaron's coming down here into turn 1. They're going to be side by side. This will be Ty Morgo cold tyres. Ty Morgo's managed to get a good exit out of there considering that. Now he just needs to get those braking points nailed on, because it'll be very difficult for Aaron to make a pass. But he is monstering him at the moment. He's going to have those nice warm tyres up to pressure. Tyre's going to be turning the wheel in and is going to be feeling a blob back. So we've got more action in the pits with Footner and Adman in, so this will have big implications on the lead and the podium makeup. GT King, who was right on the heels of Footner, has already made his pit stop. Andrelli made his pit stop a couple of laps ago. So we've got GT King here coming into start-finish straight. Footner needs to get away shortly, and he has. This could be another close one. Oh, I think GT King here, this could be very, very close. Or maybe not quite as close as I thought. So Footner looks like he's done it. And he's going to come out ahead of GT King. And GT King run very wide there, so that's unfortunately hurt him there. And I didn't quite get back in time, but Adman has managed to retain that position in front of Andrelli, who's done a great job to do that. Just waiting for the timing board here. It's a little bit. So Fly Sky and Zest. So something happening with the timing board here. Okay, it's sorting itself out now. Apologies. So both Footner and Adman, by running a little bit longer, have maintained their advantage. So they've calculated correctly that the new tyre advantage wasn't as great, that their tyre wear was under control, and they've been rewarded with not just retaining their position, but tyres which are going to be a few laps younger, so they'll have more to play with at the end of the stints. So that has shaken the front runners out a little bit, but Aaron is still on the back. So Ty Morgo has jumped Aaron. So apologies, because it was Eagle Wind, Aaron, and then Ty Morgo in that order. That order is now switched around to Ty Morgo, Aaron, Burrow Dog, and then Eagle. Burrow Dog really starting to show some of that pace that I know he has, that we did see last week. A bit disappointing qualifying position for him here, but really getting in amongst the fight and some battles, making some passes, and with some strategy he has leapfrogged a couple of cars as well. I've had a few disconnects that I quite didn't pick up. Just having a look at the names, I think Psychogency might have been one. I can't quite recall who else might have been. That's a shame that we've lost a few. Still got a good 16 cars out on track though. So GT King is just maintaining. Oh, as we've got Aaron running a little bit wide, that's coming out of the second last corner, so he's having to go a little bit. Look, he took the early apex but then ran wide, so this is going to be a big opportunity for Burrow Dog here. Couldn't quite capture in the slipstream there. That was interesting. It looked like Aaron actually pulled a bit of a gap on him. Might suggest that Aaron's running a slightly lower downforce package, because it definitely didn't look like Aaron got the best exit out of the final corner. Good chopper cam here, and just want to see some of these Bentleys. Just watch their lines coming through the chicane here. And then get right up onto that concrete just beyond the sausage curb. very impressive. Bit wide from Aaron there. So this little battle, Burrodog and Aaron, has just allowed Ty Morgo to stretch his legs a little bit. He's done really well. Made up quite a few positions in this race. Might be one of his strongest races of the season. So that gap between Footner and GT King just steady between 1.5 to 2 seconds. So Footner's must have got on top, getting a bit used to that braking, that new unfamiliar braking, which must be so stressful going into a race when you're leading the championship. I know with the flurry of activity in the Bruce Hale Racing Discord that there was a lot of stress and anxiety, but he's managed to find a solution which has allowed him to get on track tonight, so well done. And not only get on track, but be leading the race. So Burrow had that little nibble on Aaron, but he's just dropped off by a couple of tenths, looking to compose himself and have another crack. It can be difficult following another car closely in the dirty air through some of these corners, particularly that sector 2. It is a bit tricky, and it obviously hurts your tyres as well, so it can be worth just cooling off a little bit for a lap or two, letting the tyres have some time to recover and then going again. Rest of the field a little bit spread out. This is the battle here. Aaron, Burrodog and Eagle, after losing out through the round of pit stops, are starting to join the party, and overall they're not too far away from Ty as well, so we're probably looking at a 4-car battle here, a 4-car Bentley battle. Still at about 2 seconds GT King to Footner. Andrelli though is starting to ease up on Adman. The gap was about 3.5 seconds at the end of the pit stops. Andrelli's worked it down to 1.7, so there's 20 minutes to go. He might arrive at Adman's rear wing maybe in the last 5 or 7 minutes or so. So all these drivers really just about a second apart from each other. They're really struggling to, I guess, get up right up behind and then alongside each other. I'm not sure whether it's just a me thing or whether other drivers experience it as well, but I always found that if I'm following another driver in the same car that I am in, I find it very difficult to overtake. Even with a little bit of a downforce differential, the car just doesn't seem to want to overtake another of its brethren. But it might just be me. An image of Riggsy in the shower is, I'm sure, something that the fans would love to see and would feature on next year's calendar. So get your orders in early. Thanks for that update, Riggsy, on your whereabouts this evening. So of this little battle here, it's Aaron that's been the one that's been able to break away from Burrow and Eagle and now start to put pressure on Ty. So game on between these two. Andrelli's come down to about a second now from Adman, so I thought it might take him towards the back end of the race. He might get there much sooner, so pressure could be on for Adman very, very shortly, as it is for Ty Morgo right now. Aaron's been doing really well. He was in the PS5 race last week. Unfortunately, I can't quite recall where he ended up finishing, but I know his 1 lap pace was rapid. He's very, very quick. Just go on board and just have a look at how he's doing following Ty Morgo at the moment. With Ty getting right over onto that curb because it kind of hooks you over to the left hand side and sets you up perfectly for that right hander. Aaron didn't manage to do that, and you can see what effect it had. Ty was able to get the exit out of the second part of that very, very nicely. But he's still right there though, Aaron. Short shifting into second, realising that he probably had a good exit there compared to Ty, but there's no real way to get around him. You can see just following Ty, he's just can't seem to get a run. Ty had a bit of understeer there, might have even been a little bit of a lock-up. It was a bit of an awkward kind of push out away from the apex. Horrible little inside curb there at turn 3. Saw a few incidences last week in the PS5 race where a couple of guys got caught out, taking a bit too much of that, ending up in the wall or in other drivers, into other drivers' cars, sorry. You can see the confidence Aaron has under the brakes there. Really closed up on Ty and easily made the corner, but just watch how Ty gets nice and early into that curb and just sets him up for the next 2 corners. And Aaron's on the back foot coming through there, but he is much quicker through that corner. As you can see, it's really closed the gap, but not really long enough of a straight to be able to get a run on Ty. I think he might have had to come off a little bit there, Aaron, on the accelerator. Let's see what else is happening. Andrelli's very close to Adman now for the podium. Just under 15 minutes to go, and this is business time for these two. Both will desperately want the podium. Adman, he's worked so hard to be fighting up in these positions fighting for podiums. He's bloody quick, and when he can put it together, the results are on. This tonight could be the night to land that podium for the season, but Andrelli's just monstering him at the moment. Andrelli needs every single point he can muster. He's going to lose ground to Footner if positions stay as they are and Footner maintains the lead and wins this race. But every point is going to be crucial, so Andrelli's not going to give up here. See if helicopter view can give us a bit of a look at the braking points for these two drivers. Difficult to tell. Look like Andrelli was able to brake slightly later, but Adman still wasn't able to make the apex there. Very similar lines coming through turn 4 and 5, indicating that the Ferrari likes to get through there in a particular way. Actually quite a bit of curb there from Andrelli as well through the chicane, probably more than I would have taken, but he might be taking a few risks throwing it all on the line. Run a bit wide there on exit, so it looked like he came off the accelerator just a little bit, Andrelli, because he may have troubled the stewards with the track limit warning if he didn't do that. You can see a much more straighter angle coming out of the last corner for Adman. But Andrelli came off that very, very well. Oh, Adman didn't get the best exit. The rear got Taylor. He's gone to defend the inside. Andrelli went to the outside, but wasn't able to stick it around. You can stick it around the outside there at turn 3. Difficult to do. You need to have a bit of a pace advantage or a confidence advantage, but it can be done. Andrelli opted not to do it. Just having a look here, Footner has opened up that gap. It was just over 4 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's fallen to just under the 4-second mark. Let's see what it updates now. So Footner's got himself into a bit of a comfortable position here, which is a great job from him considering the circumstances he's in. Andrelli having a bit of a look at Adman. Coming through into sector 3, we've got Gaz, or is that Squid potentially? I think that might be Gaz. Coming up, I'm sure he will be very aware of his co-captain for BHR and Andrelli coming up, and they slip through. Yet again, Andrelli can't quite look to make a pass into turn 1, and Adman gets through turn 1 a bit more cleanly than what he managed to last time around, so pressure off for a moment. Just a quick look at Aaron, who's still looking at the back of Time Auger's rear wing. Burrowdog and Eagle still there or thereabouts, just behind, but it really is as you were, the pit stops really shook this little group out. This is how they've landed, and it hasn't changed since. I do apologise with my newness to being at the controls with everything this evening. I probably have not kept my eyes closely on the bottom half of the field as I would have liked. It looks like Zest won, who lost a little bit of ground in the early laps, was involved in a few incidences we just didn't quite catch, starting to work his way back up. We know he's got lots of pace, he's a very quick driver. In the races though, putting it together is another thing entirely. Back up to the front. These two have clearly been neck and neck for pace. They were very close in qualifying. They're very close here on the circuit. When Andrelli was in third place, Admin was right there, putting pressure on him, hustling him across the track. Now it's the opposite. What is a big shame though is that K-Man was right in there with these two in the other Ferrari. He had a big incident at turn 4 that I think involved contact with the wall. He ended up pitting, and it looks like he has not been able to continue, so he's one of our did not finishes for the race. Adman using all of the circuit there, which you can do. Important to get it back around to the left-hand side to set yourself up for this final corner. Andrelli gets a really nice run out of the last corner again, but the pace differential just isn't there. I would say they're probably running very similar aero configurations. Andrelli was late on the brakes there and had to take a little bit of avoiding action, not much. You can take that action here with that wide entry into turn 1. They of course reprofiled that. I think in the late 90s or early 2000s maybe. Turn 1 did look a little bit different on this circuit back in the day. I remember playing it quite a lot on my original PlayStation, Formula 1 97. But aside from that, a little bit of reprofiling into turn 1 and a few other small bits and pieces. This circuit remains largely unchanged since the 80s when it was first open and in use. So Adman got away with a little bit of an error through the chicane. Looked like he just missed the first part of it. Really had to stop the car and get it turned in to make the second part. But he knew he could do that because there really wasn't any way for Andrelli to get through. And in fact, he probably did the smart thing by stopping the car and trying to get it turned through, because had he continued on, he might have got lost a little bit of grip, which might have unbalanced the car and given Andrelli a prime run. Yet another lap down into turn 1. These two continue the battle. Aaron and Ty. Aaron's going to have a run here at Ty. Ty breaks very late though. He's not going to give that up easily. Oh, and there's contact. There's contact there, unfortunately, and that has sent Ty into the wall. Aaron's going to do the right thing and redress, which is very good of him to do. So well done for acknowledging that that was an error and allowing Ty to come back through. But yeah, it has unfortunately dropped them down quite a few positions and has opened the door for Burrowdog to drive right into 5th place. So after a disappointing qualifying by his standards, he's kept it calm, kept it clean, and he's worked his way up the field. Just over 3 minutes to go, and just under 6-second lead for Footner from GT King. So it looks like a stabilisation of positions between those two. The action's really here for 3rd position for the final podium place. This has been great driving from these two. I'm not quite sure what led to Adman being able to jump Andrelli just before the end of the first stints, whether it was a mistake or Adman just getting a better run or something or other. But it appears that, and then aside from the pit stops and strategies, everything else has been absolutely even between these two. It's just further down after that. After Aaron and Ty kind of shook down the order a bit after that contact, they've landed right in the battle with Fly Sky and Zest 1. And Eagle Wind has dropped off a little bit as well and has fallen into this pack, so perhaps he's doing a team game thing again with Ty Morgo, because they were in this position when Aaron was in between them and Fly Sky's just gone off, so that's going to allow Ty to skip through for another place back. Final lap for Footner as he comes down into turn 1. Let's go back here and we'll see Adman and Andrelli come down into turn 1 for the final time for them. Will Andrelli make a move? Will he take a risk and send it? You can bail out of it here. You can go on a bit, use the runoff. He opts not to do that. Adman got a really, really nice run out of turn 1. So now Andrelli's really just going to need a very big mistake from Adman. Ooh, there's Eagle, Ty and Fly Sky. It's all a bit of a battle pack here. I think Eagle might have been trying to let Ty through, and it's opened up the door for Fly, who was lost out there because Aaron's come through. Oh, it's a little bit awkward coming through there, but Footner's just a couple of corners away. We'll come back in a moment. And Andrelli on Adman can't make it happen in probably what is the last opportunity. So it's going to be Footner though, who will come over, start, finish straight to take the victory. Congratulations. A great result there. GT King, 2nd place. Well done. It's Adman and Andrelli going to take it over the line, and Adman's going to get the podium position. So, superb result for BHR tonight, with Footner first and Adman third. It's a phenomenal performance. And a great one for GRT, Games and Racing Team, as well, with GT King second and Andrelli fourth. And Baradog comes over the line in fifth. So a good night for them as well. Ty Morgo and Eagle Wind will come over the line astern in 6th and 7th. Aaron and Fly 8th and 9th. Zest 1 recovers to 10th after falling down. 11th. Stu's got through there. So there's been a change of position in the last sector between those two. And we're going to have Rain of Fire cross the line. And we'll wait for Metal, Steel, Bounty, and Cermic Squid as the drivers on track. So, once again, massive congratulations to Footner. Last night, broke his pedal set. Tonight, has come up with a solution. He's driving something unfamiliar. Took pole, took the win, and thoroughly deserved for the championship leader. And he will now extend his championship lead over Andrelli, who will maintain second in the championship with that result. But he will fall probably another 3 or 4 points behind Footner after tonight's round. So he'll still be in it from a championship perspective, but the hill is steep to climb for Andrelli from here. And Adman, what can I say? I'm absolutely thrilled for him. Top bloke, top ruse veteran, and thoroughly deserves this. So good on you, mate. Really stoked for you. And so what I might do is leave it there. Thanks very much for jumping on board with me this evening, to those watching, and for anyone catching up on the race a bit later. Apologies, it was just me this evening, and a bit new to kind of taking control of everything, so I hope I managed to bring enough of the action to you, but hopefully we'll be back as a duo with some nice production and another voice beside me in a fortnight's time. So next week we'll have the final round for the PS5 division, so good luck to everyone racing in that round. I'll see those guys there, and you'll hear from me in a couple of weeks. So thanks very much, everyone, and have a good week.